Hey, how was your day? Good? I don't give a fuck. Now, about my day, I had to really think about this because earlier in a McDonald's, I was waiting in line for a my order, and there was this one person. Um, he walked past me, like he took my place in line, and I was like, "Hello." This is my spot, dickhead. You're not supposed to be here. In my mind. Because though I have a humble heart, I know that I could get my shit absolutely rocked by that person. So I just clenched my fists in anger. Then later, I didn't think about it until later. Because that same person, he gave his seat to an old woman. Now, sure, experience is something we should all really admire in a person, but I don't think you really need to do that because the old man, I think he was like 80, he didn't even need your help. He said it was fine, but you said, oh no, it's fine. Take my seat. Then I realized, why doesn't that happen to me? I mean, I have experience. I'm practically mature and like, hello, I am Nicholas. Like, do you even know what I'm doing for everything? For everyone? Sometimes I just don't get the praise I deserve. I know that complaining is the peasant's version of change. Now, I get that there are those people where they try to do better for the world and for the next generation, whatever. I don't think that exists because, frankly, with more kids like me, again, if because not a lot of kids exist like me, no. I wish there were more, frankly, because a whole country full of Nicholases could accomplish so much with all their intelligence and frankly their innovation, really. They could accomplish so much in this world. But say you have a world full of that guy that gave the seat and cut me in line, by the way. You would have a collapsing government. You would somehow have a piece of land in the world that just so happened to have drowned. Like the water levels are higher than their country because, well, they thought, oh, the water has so much experience. I should give them my land because, frankly, they deserve it. All opposing? No, no, no. Go ahead. We think you deserve to pick it because, frankly, water does have that experience and they deserve our land. That is a loser mentality. Loser mentality. Frankly, I pity him because who knows what he's been raised by what hippies. He's like 20, by the way. I'm gonna get my shit rocked if he even sees this video. But that guy is he's a pushover. Yeah, if you tell him to do something, he would do it with no problem. And he usually does think he deserves more for himself. That's why he cut me in line, because he thinks that when he tries to assert his dominance over the alpha male, then he could potentially have respect, which we all know how that goes. Ugh. Hey, look at me. Respect. That doesn't really work. To have respect, you have to. I don't mean to come across as too smart for you guys, by the way. I'm trying to get this as simple minded as I can, but to like gain respect, you have to make sure people know you. Yeah. That's why when the guy at the McDonald's cut me in the line, he did not know me. Therefore, well, he didn't know me, but he noticed that everyone was looking at me. He decided off of that I should cut this person in line because I could be seen as someone who's respectable and who doesn't care about the rules. That's the gist nowadays, right? People who don't accept and tolerate the rules, the social norms. That guy is pitiful, really. And he couldn't even say sorry. You know, it takes the bigger man to admit when he's wrong. It even takes a bigger man to know his limits. Because when he cut me in line, I knew to myself that I should not even attempt to tell him to get out of the way. Because, not because he could shit my fucking rocks, but rather he, rather, it's a form of maturity to show that I am not moved by your stance. Therefore, why should I care? I know. I am commendable. When I'm older, I will be writing a book. And when that book comes out, that man will see a page of this video and realize that kid, I remembered him. I should have apologized to him because not only was he actually right, but I was fully in the wrong. Like, hello, obviously, you cut me in line, you share your seat to to an old man, by the way, who had a cane, so he didn't actually need that. But yeah, you wanna show off your respect, or you wanna, you know, say sorry to me? I I would just accept it. You don't even need to say sorry because the word sorry just makes me gag internally because sorry? I could say sorry after cutting you in line? No, I don't think that's how it works, frankly, because when you cut me in line, you're taking away 10 minutes of my life, 10 grueling minutes in where I could have possibly had that time to savor my meal. By the way, this guy, he just ordered chicken fillet and Coke. Like, hello, you could have waited longer because it matters to me more, I I humbly admit that I need fat. Frankly, I'm a bit on the lean side, and he, well, let's put this into a little hassle here, but he seems to have had enough. And to revoke my right to even eat my meal earlier than you just shows immediately how disrespectful you are. Because when I share my time, it's usually paid because, hello, like 10 minutes with Nicholas, you can't get any more better than that. And with the knowledge that you are actually talking and witnessing Nicholas speak without even paying, like, you should feel honored at this point. And that guy at the McDonald's, he went home before me. Now, this is when all of that just sounds absurd because the guy in the McDonald's, he cleaned up his food before he left. Yeah. Like, he put his chicken fillet and Coke, empty cup of Coke, by the way, onto his tray and puts it on top of the trash can. Of course, there's the area in where you put the trays in so that the workers could fix it. And you don't really get anything in return, so why even do it, right? But that guy in the McDonald's, the one that left, he assumed that he would gain respect off of that. Like, hello, you cleaned up after yourself and you expected someone to help you, to, I don't know, pay you back in the future? No, because you just have to ask someone to do that. Hello? That guy in the McDonald's, he's my arch nemesis. Some of you may even argue that I am obsessed with that person. I fully disagree because if you knew me personally, like, you would know that I do not waste my time in worthless specks of dust in this universe like the guy in the McDonald's. I'm not fully sure what this rant is about, but I don't know. Seeing him just help the old man clean up after himself and possibly other off-screen shenanigans that delinquent has went through. He still cuts me in line, by the way, right? Like, hello, isn't it obvious you're only doing this for what? Attention? Because when you want to help someone, you know when you're wrong. You would say sorry when you're wrong. But that guy, he cuts me off, barely says anything, by the way. And then he orders, like, hello, I was right behind you. And you took my place in line. You know the funny thing? Like, before he actually cuts me in line, I, I didn't even get into the line yet. Like, he should have at least offered me to actually move because, well, obviously I was first, or at least I was walking towards the line, and what, you took my line? Because free will, right? That's all the woke philosophers are about today, that free will. I could be anything I want, I could do anything I want. That's what's woke about today, right? So when that man, that boy, walked into the McDonald's, cut my line, and then ordered a chicken fillet, he probably went to bed not even thinking about this moment. This moment he should have taken as a lesson. And I could have given him that lesson. I'll put my credit where it's due. It's also my fault for not being able to open his eyes to the problem that he made, because, well, someone had to tell him something, because who knows? Who knows how much line cutting that guy's been done? How much attention seeking that guy's been done? My heart of humility could barely assume, could barely could barely think of any other scenario in where I would let that happen. And I did. Maybe it's because that guy could beat my ass. Granted, that guy was tall and a little, hmm, a little too experienced with McDonald's, and he helped that person. He cleaned up after himself, as you should, by the way, and then left. I waited for his apology. That's why I noticed these things, because he was sitting across from me in my booth. I could see that he was downing the chicken fillet and Coke and had nothing else in his mind than to just eat, like, glutinous much. And with that revelation that he just left cleaning himself, cleaning for, cleaning to himself, I could barely even hold my grudge against him. You know, I, I'm the bigger man, by the way, for not ex- escalating the conflict with that guy, because when conflict comes, you cannot do it. You cannot, like, finish the conflict because you are dealing with an idiot. That is what Gandhi has said. Possibly. I don't know. Never read his books. But I think that applies to my situation, because I am Gandhi in this scenario. And the man from the man in the McDonald's, he's the idiot. Because I know that if I actually talk to him, two possible scenarios come. One where he beats my ass because he cannot handle the truth, and my heart of humility is once again reinstated because I know not to fight. And possibility number two, I tell him that he's wrong, and I was actually in line. Then he would talk about how, sir, you're not supposed to stay out of line if you're gonna be in line. So you're not actually on the line. Like, I know it's gonna be impossible to argue with that guy because I know I'm right. I was first on the line. He cuts me off, then would what? He would admit he's wrong? If he would admit he's wrong, he would know he was wrong. And in this situation, he doesn't. Okay? He cuts me in line, doesn't say sorry, and becomes a poser, I guess, for the girls in the McDonald's. Then to that, I say the girls in McDonald's. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I could feel so much pity for this man, and I wouldn't even escalate it because I know that I'm in the right. And frankly, him, he's in the wrong. And that's all that matters in my day. So I don't actually care that he did that because I know that there will be another Nicholas in his path that is much stronger and lean so that he could teach some lessons into that poor guy. Because if you go to another McDonald's, cut someone else in line, the next thing you could find would not be some humble man taking it, letting you take it, by the way. You would find someone who is a psychopath and sociopath and would beat you up because, frankly, I am also triggered by that. You, good sir, should not be a person. You should not exist in my vicinity if you're this disrespectful to me and I guess other people, but we can see how that goes. You're spoiled, I guess. I don't think you've had a Nicholas on standby to teach you what's right and wrong. And, well, here I am. I would not give you my YouTube channel because you're this character that is stubborn. I don't see why I would have a stubborn subscriber and go with that. Because I know that when you watch my videos, you would cringe. You would call me out for being a hypocrite, saying that I actually care, when I know the truth, which is that I'm right and you are wrong. Simple as that. I don't see why you would make this a big problem by attention seeking because, frankly, if you cut me in line, you would have to say sorry. Would that still give you the permission to cut me in line? No, because I want my meal. You want your chicken fillet and Coke, whatever. And I would not stand by that. No. Because when you try to assert dominance over the alpha male, you would have a small, slim chance that the alpha male just bends over to your will. And in this situation, that is not what happened, because in this situation, I let you do it out of pity, because I know that you are thinking that you are right. And I pity that. I pity that a lot, because you're just insufferable. But to me, well, we see how that's going right now. To me, you're worthless, and I just don't care. You know, I just don't care. But you seem to make it care a lot, honestly. Like showing off, like it's pretty obvious you're trying to uphold my status in the McDonald's as the superior, the alpha, whatever your term is, because I don't like labels, frankly. And that guy in the McDonald's was a total nincompoop. I know. I would have to resort to a fourth grade insult so that you could match your respect, your maturity. I just don't see that in you, nor would I see that in anyone else who cuts me in line. Now, this video should be a lesson to you line cutters, you people pleasers, that you should be more like Nicholas. I don't get that often. I just don't. And when I find people in the same struggle as me, I try my best to help them throughout, because, well, I could relate and I could help. Yeah, that's pure gold. And, well, yeah, closing thoughts. Don't be a line cutter, and remember to not escalate the situation, because remember to be the bigger man and know your limits and know when you're wrong. That guy in the McDonald's was wrong. Thank you. Actually, thank yous are also pathetic. A sign of gratitude is something of weakness, because you don't have to show gratitude all the time. You just go with your life. Okay? Okay. No thank yous now. Goodbye.